Call a regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order at 6:33, and the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. So there are minutes in your packet from the February 20th regular meeting.
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of February 20th, 2018 with the following addition. Under new business, item C, approved selectmen's budget. First, Selectman Wyszynski announced that there was a last-minute change to the salary in line 137. The budget was adjusted upward to bring the salary in line with the certifications held by the individual. She could not discuss it in public, but would be happy to discuss it with the other selectmen in executive session.
I don't remember saying that was to be discussed in executive session. I mentioned the salary increase in line 137. And if there are anything personnel-wise to discuss, we would discuss that in executive session.
I took that to mean that this was a personnel issue and therefore you will discuss it in executive session, and I stand for this.
I mean, we have an audio recording. Can we at some point go back and check that on the audio recording? I mean, I don't remember the verbatim words.
You can check it on the video recording too, because I did.
Okay. So we can, John has made a motion. If there's not a second, we can table these minutes until our next meeting with the correction as well.
Yep.
Okay. The next item is present to speak. Anyone present to speak? Just identify yourself for the record. Yes, sir?
John Patton. I came here, I read your February 20th minutes. Also found out that the accounting associate had been laid off, and I'm going to tell you that there was a number of procedural errors in what you guys did. First thing is the executive session you had at your February 20th meeting was illegal. You cannot go into an executive session to discuss personnel issues without giving the person notice and allowing them to have the meeting be public. You can't do that. So you kind of leave yourself up to an issue. The second thing on the minutes is that the first selectman wanted to clarify that she has the authority to create positions. That's absolutely incorrect. You do not have the authority to create positions. The Board of Selectmen has the authority to create positions. One of the other issues is the fact that your layoff, which was done on February 16th, was incorrect and can't be done. You don't have the authority to lay anybody off. The Board of Selectmen has the authority to lay somebody off. So if you were going to do this, the Board of Selectmen would have to bring this up at a public meeting, discuss it in public, and then vote to eliminate the position. That's how it has to be done. And I'll refer you to the Town of Willington personnel policy that on page 25 that talks about layoffs. It says the Board of Selectmen may lay off an employee when it deems it necessary by reason of shortage of work or funds, the abolition of the position, material change in the departmental organization, or for other related reasons which are outside the employee's control and which do not reflect discredit upon the services of the employee. So that has to be done in public. So I think you're right now with those at least three actions, you've kind of put the town at risk. That department, which was the finance department, was created 20 years ago. And it was created with the cooperation of the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the Board of Education. All three of those boards actually have oversight of that department. So I think before there'd be a substantial change to that department, that all three of them would be consulted, and they would be consulted in public, and they would agree to that. It was, at the time it was created, it was put under the town just for ease of administration. So you kind of want to, and I think Mr. Blessing said it, there's no reason to do this so quickly. Making a major change to that, there may be good reasons for that, but it's sort of short-sighted to just say, well, I know best and I'm just going to go ahead and do this. There's a reason. I mean, we spent months and months and months discussing that department, how it was going to be created. I mean, Mr. Jellin was I think he was around then. There was a lot of consternation. There was a lot of worry about how that was going to be affected and how, if we were going to do things which were going to affect the Board of Education negatively. And I think time has told that wasn't the case. So you're kind of creating, by doing that, you're kind of creating a bad precedent that the first selectman could do whatever the first selectman wants to do, and the rest of them, well, they can go along with it or not. It doesn't work that way. So you've got some issues. The other thing that you've done is you've laid that person off. Although Board of Selectmen still has not created that new position. You made a motion to create a job description, which is neat, but that doesn't mean anything. You've created a job description. Doesn't mean you've created a job. What you also need to do is there are certain things within both the personnel policy and the union contract that you have to offer this position to the person that's been laid off. You laid somebody off, you decided soon that you're going to create a position. Because it's my hope that instead of just going forward, you actually undo your actions, and then if you want to, discuss them and then redo them so they're done correctly. When you do that, you actually have to offer that position to the person that's been laid off. And there's a certain procedure that you have to do, which is to send them a return receipt certified letter to their last known address. And they have 15 days to respond to that, whether they want whatever new position is created to come back. So if you can do that, not do that, but I'm going to tell you that all of this has to be done out in the open. It has to be done at a Board of Selectmen meeting, because the Board of Selectmen, most of the authority, almost all the authority except for maybe 6 things, all the authority of the first Selectman flows from the Board of Selectmen. So you all need to do it in public, because maybe, just maybe, that you won't get the Board of Selectmen to go along with it, even though it might be a good idea. And John Blessington, with his 25 years of experience being on the board, might bring up enough good points that to say, you know what, maybe it's not a good thing to do. So, and I'm going to tell you that one of the major reasons that we had 2 people as account associates was because of the inevitable time when somebody leaves, we have backup. We cross-trained. That was the whole idea, was for those people to be cross-trained. So, because somebody's going to leave, they always do. It's a fact of life. So what you're doing is, and I've lived through those times when either the Board of Education lost their bookkeeper or the town lost their bookkeeper, and we had nobody, and we scrambled, and it was a mess, and we lived with that for quite a long time. So we said, you know, this is no way to run a railroad or a town. So we said, you know what, if we combine our resources, we can have a bigger department, get the job done, we can have backup, we can have a little bit of security, so we know if one person leaves or one person gets run over by a train, that we have somebody that can continue to the job. So right now, you might think it's a little bit more efficient, and it may be, but when that person leaves, you're going to have nobody to back them up. And if I was the union, I would be questioning, you have 2 account associates doing a job that used to be 60 hours, or it used to be 65, and it's 60 hours. You had one position which wasn't filled, and it wasn't filled within the 30 days as required by the contract. And I think the union understands we're in bad financial straits, so they probably didn't make an issue of it. But what you said was, gee, we have 2 account associates, one of them, the positions is not filled, so we only have 1, so we're gonna lay that person off because that'll make it better. So now we have nobody doing the work. And if I was the union, I'd be saying, well, who's doing the work? You obviously had a batch run, so who's doing it? Non-union help doing it? Well, then you're gonna start getting into grievance procedures, because if I was a union, I'd be saying, what are you guys doing? You can't be using non-union help to do union work. So now you've created a union grievance problem, and if you don't follow the procedures, you can create, oh well, you got FOI problems, you're gonna create possible employment issues. You really gotta do a redo, you gotta hit the reset button. You have the votes to do what you wanna do it properly. Or don't do it at all. But, thank you.
Anyone else wanting to speak?
Yeah,
Just identify yourself.
yeah, Bob Jellin, 38 Lucerne Drive. John, thank you for referencing my participation in what you're referring to there. Yes, I do remember that, and I also remember that there are, according to state statutes, basically 3 reasons why a board, and for that matter, any board, can go into executive session. The first reason is for negotiations. The second is for personnel matter, and the third is for a legal matter. Now, if those, and I think you can also do a staff matter, or it sort of intertwines with a legal matter in most cases.
I have the list here, Bob.
No, I know. No, I
Okay.
John, if you would seriously check that.
Oh, I can check it, I agree, you can go in for personnel matters, but what you have to do is, you have to notify the person that you're discussing.
Okay.
That's,
all right.
that's my only point. You
No.
can certainly go into executive session, they can go in, we're gonna discuss Bob Jellin, the employee.
Right.
But we have to tell Bob Jellin that we're gonna talk about it.
Okay, and I do know, however, with regard to what you just said, and you are correct on that,
Thank you.
I do know that the person involved, the staff member whom is being discussed, does have the option to do one of 2 things. That staff member can have it, or let it be a public matter to be discussed in public, or let it be an executive session.
Oh, absolutely, they have to be notified though, Bob.
And the other question that I have sort of segues into this is the title, correct title, accounts assistant or accounts associate?
There were 2 positions that were account associates.
2, okay. Let me ask you a question. And this is actually just in the form of information. Was part of either of their job, both the town and the Board of Education, or
The one that was unfilled,
one was unfilled? Okay.
has been unfilled since October? September, October, in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
Was that it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Anyone else present to speak? All right. There's a list of correspondence in your packet. Do you have any questions about the correspondence? All right. Status report. So, the River Road lights, now that LoCIP funding has been freed up, rec director is working with Carl on the next step of that project. They have to do some rework to the plans and adding the lights before they can move forward, so she's working on that. And Derek is waiting for, between weather and some pricing on the Willington Hill Fire Department parking lot, the pillars of the town clerk, and the door downstairs. The downstairs level, the land use position, Susan advertised that this weekend, and I believe it closes on the 23rd. Am And our assessor, we had a temporary assessor, and she left us on last Wednesday, or Thursday. So the grand list was filed, but she was just here temporary.
Right.
So we need to decide if we want to, put another ad out for another full-time, or talk about what we'd like to do with that position, whether we want to try, I went to a shared services meeting in Tolland, and that's one of the things that came up was an assessor, if we wanted to contract out. The part-time person we had was also part-time in Bolton, where we happened to contract our building official, so it wouldn't really work, because she couldn't do that many part-time positions.
Really, I don't know if this really should be on the agenda.
The assessor position?
The assessor
Yeah.
position, if we're gonna discuss it tonight.
Well, we have to decide what we want to do, so we can either
Well-
add it to the agenda and talk about it tonight. I'm just giving you an update about where we are, so.
That's why I think it
Yeah.
should be on the agenda, because it's not something we can afford to
Right.
put off for
No,
weeks and months. So do we wanna add that to the agenda? I make a motion that we add, new business item D, assessor's position.
I'll second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And while we're at it, we've advertised for the account position, and Mr. Patton has made some very good points here that we've already, and he stole my thunder, because I've not been happy, but it's okay, you can have my thunder now. I feel if we go ahead and hire somebody now, we're merely sinking deeper into the morass that we have put ourselves in. So I would make a motion that we add under old business C, account associate position.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Public Works, Derek's reporting, that they've been pothole patching, doing vehicle and equipment repair, pushing up salt deliveries, roadside brush and tree removal, roadkill removal, replace rotted storm grates, install aggregate on gravel roads in areas that are muddy and rutted out, cleaning vehicles, picking up and delivering cabinets and desks from Yukon surplus for our assessor's office, and clearing roads of down limbs from Friday's nor'easter. So new business, an update on our 2017, our current budget. The Board of Finance voted on Thursday night to unfreeze the budget based on the revenue projections that Donna and Tish provided to them. So that took effect Thursday night. But it just means, business as usual. Lisa did report that she gave me a forecast. She has already collected over what we had anticipated for this calendar year. So the budget for collections was $13,147,178. As of today, we've collected $13,172,925, with $25,747 over what was budgeted. So there's still more to collect,
How much
but
more?
$169,855. But she's collected more than we had originally budgeted for.
Erica, could you restate those numbers?
Yes, so the budgeted number was $13,147,178,
Uh-huh.
and as of today, collected $13,172,925.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions on the current fiscal budget?
Well, no, not on the current one.
Okay. All right, so then, we voted on our budget that's going to the Board of Finance. I only sent them an electronic copy and not a paper copy, because we wanted to have discussion again tonight. I wanted to discuss some other things. So, we let them know this was the version as of right now. It could change, didn't think the bulk of it would change, so we went ahead and sent them that, and then we'll give them a version based on where we go tonight. So I know one of the discussions was the salary of the tax collector. So I'm gonna share with you both a copy of just information comparing what we looked at were the salaries between the tax collector and other towns. You can see WIllington salaries at the top. These are some of our neighboring towns. You can see how many hours they work, just to give you a rough idea. And then comparison, the now appointed, not elected town clerk position, and at current we have a certified tax collector with years of experience, and a non-certified town clerk with little experience, just to compare, if we're comparing what the salaries. So where we looked at was what we thought that salary should be, and that's why it's in there. But I'm open to discussion. It was open to discussion last week,
Well,
so.
well, in the past, whenever someone has wanted a raise, any non-union person has wanted a raise, they've come before the Board of Selectmen, made their case, we discussed it, voted yes or no, whatever. And except sometimes, when budget time is coming up, they can write in on the budget a new salary, and then we discuss it with them and open meeting and make the decision there. I am disturbed here because we had agreed on the early February meeting, we had agreed on a budget which showed a salary for this individual of $39,389, and at the next meeting, we were going to vote on that. And then at the next meeting, the first selectman said the budget was adjusted upward to bring the salary in line with the certifications held by the individual.
Correct, and we absolutely could have had discussion regarding that. And I believe the discussion was,
And we absolutely could have had discussion because we were fighting over the other
Right.
issue.
well, I mean, it wasn't, look, it's not hiding anything, it's out there. It changed our numbers from 1.6%, 1.7% to 1.6%. It's still an increase to the budget. It's something that we can discuss. If you disagree with me, there's 3 of us, I am only 1 vote. It was my opinion that this position should be increased so that the 2 salaries are more in line with each other and the scope of the work that we do.
So to pretty much slide it in.
So I did not slide it in. Johnny put it in there and pointed it out to you.
Actually, by that time, I still had my old paper, and I don't think Donna had got around to passing out the new one. You didn't point out how much it was. You said the budget was adjusted upward to bring the salary in line. And
Okay.
now all of a sudden, well, you pointed out, yeah, I suppose we could have argued the point if I knew what it was and if I were prepared to argue. I'm really bad at extemporaneous, if that's the word, argument, you know, just jumping in. I like to get my ducks up in a line. The time to have done that would have been 2 weeks earlier when we had when we were working on the budget.
Okay.
And I'm not sure exactly what the big rush is. Again,
There
there's
wasn't a big rush, but everything doesn't come to us in a time frame that fit into that nice.
Did the
box.
individual ask you to increase that budget?
She asked me to look at it, and I did.
She asked you to look at it.
Yes, and I looked into where the salaries align, and I put it in a proposed budget, a proposed. It does not mean that we have to accept this budget. You get to vote on it. It was here in front of you. With no discussion, one can only assume that you didn't have a problem with it. If you wanted to think about it some more, you should have said, I'd like to wait on this and do some more research. And I'm willing to do that, which is why we're here discussing it again tonight. I said to you, I have no problem with that. If it's something else you want to talk about, let's talk about it and open it up.
Okay.
And so,
I will talk about it. You know, we're trying to limit spending. We're having a very hard time doing that.
Right, so if it's something that doesn't go and we can't justify it, then we don't. It doesn't, there's nothing to say we have to. I proposed it. If you do not agree with me, then you do not agree with me, and that's perfectly fine. I can understand the difference. We have two positions that I think are very out of alignment as far as salary, and just bringing them into where I think they should be. If you disagree and the vote goes up, I'm perfectly fine hearing discussion about that, John.
I think you and I remember things differently, as how this all came about. Okay, well, I'll make a motion that the Selectmen's General Government Budget is approved for submission to the Board of Finance at our February 20th, 2018 meeting, be amended thusly, that Department 137, line 115, be changed from $43,000 to $39,389. The $39,389 being what the Board of Selectmen had agreed on.
Which is the 2% increase that everyone received.
So that $39,000 is
That is
the
the
2%
original,
number.
correct, that is the number that was in the budget prior to. So, for discussion purposes, I'll second that, motion.
Okay.
All right, discussion?
So in the last version of the budget, which was a few minutes late, but we did get it
Right.
by the time we were talking about it. So it was in front of us and available during conversation. It had this number of $43,000 as the
Yes.
salary, yes. So what is the concern about the upwards adjustment? The fact that it was done, or the way it was done? I want
Pretty much the way it was done.
the way it was done. Okay. So in looking at this list, I can see how far behind everybody else we were before,
And we still are.
right, and we
You know that
still are.
We're never going to get to this point. We're talking, and these are considerable
So
numbers. That's,
in terms of doing business for Willington, if we're not competitive, we're not keeping our staff.
I would agree.
And if we have staff who are raising to our attention a concern about the imbalance in salaries, we are not such a big town that somebody would not just hop over the border to Ashford to make $10 more an hour. In terms of justification of the salary, that's in front of me here. The justification for raising the salary.
Please tell me that Mansfield tax collector doesn't make $961,000 a year.
It is Mansfield.
This is true.
The Mansfield is,
It's
the Mayfield finance, so it's not broken out as much, so you can usually take Mansfield out of anything. Just like in the town clerk discussion, there's 3 full-time employees that make up that 200,000. In Tallinn, there's 200,
Okay.
I mean 2 full-time employees. So that makes up several people.
Okay.
But the individual is broken out too. The salary is the information that they give and how they report it. That's just the only difference. But no, if they make that much money in Mansfield, everyone should go there. So we couldn't possibly keep anybody here if that was the salary discrepancy.
Who came up with the suggested 43,000?
I did. I did it. That was the starting salary at the town clerk. And it was just making them level. The town clerk that was recently hired,
Okay.
that was the starting salary.
Okay. And that was-
Can I just give you a little bit of history on those salaries?
Sure.
At one point, when we did the salary study many years ago, the tax collector and the town clerk basically had the same salaries, because they were pretty much the same years of service. It was, and really the same responsibilities, same hours. And so at that point, we had put both of those both those positions in the same dollar amount. And it made sense then, it makes sense now to do that. It was when the certified tax collector left many years ago, the new one was hired that was not certified, and the salary had been decreased quite a bit.
And now we have a certified tax collector with years of experience. And the difference between that and our uncertified town clerk was significantly higher at the starting rate.
And this is,
And those,
our town clerk now is significantly lower than what the previous town clerk was making too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those two positions were
Right.
making the same.
right, at one point they were making the same, and now they are not. And this town clerk is significantly less than the other, and that goes along with the years of experience she had within that salary. But the tax collector salary, I don't believe was really adjusted to that same benefit. And that's the reason this has come forth. Do I wish it had been brought up when her budget was presented to us? Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that would have been the proper way. and
Yes,
that's-
but that's not when it came up, so, I want us to discuss it. I'm by no means trying to sneak something in for anyone, because if that tax collector leaves, we have somebody else in there, and we're looking at the same issue. No matter who the person is, it's that position. We're looking at that position and making that position, in line with the work that what's being asked, the work that the person there is doing, the amount of responsibility.
And in any position, if somebody is in a position for 10 years and they get their incremental salary increases every year, every other year, when you bring in somebody new then at the beginning of the career, you don't match necessarily where they start. I mean, I don't know that a historical experience of, well, at one point they were the same justifies that thusly they should ever be the same, without taking into consideration the finances, the experience, the personnel that are in the office, and the various ways in which things have changed over the years. So I see the justification here for increasing a salary, and it isn't even at the average yet, so.
Even close to that. So, we have a motion, discussion. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. I mean, can you see the justification for that particular salary?
I would have been willing to discuss the justification for
Okay.
that particular salary with the
For the individual?
individual who was presenting their budget, because that would have been the time to, this doesn't look, this looks bad.
Right.
This looks-
I know, I can appreciate that, I see that. I think at the time she was presenting her budget, the difference in these salaries, was just, they lied to her, I don't, I can't speak for why she didn't bring it up then.
Well, I don't know.
So,
She's a sharp cookie, so I'm
yes,
sure
she
she
is.
didn't just, hey, I should get more money.
I think it did when she saw what the other salary was. It's public, so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think, she didn't just come to me one day and said, out of nowhere, we're looking at two things comparatively, so there's an awareness there. So the motion is to roll back to that original number, correct?
That's correct.
Can I have that motion? Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, so the motion is to revert the budget back, so that line, the revenue collector salary is, I'm gonna bring the right number here, 38,670, no, that's not right.
39,389.
Sorry. I have too many days, 39,389. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Were there any other particular in the budget that we wanna discuss?
Not for
I
me.
mean, okay, so we have added the account analyst and it's in this budget, so we can revisit this when we discuss that. Okay, cause it is rolled up into that. Alright, so the assessor position is the next item that we added. So we need to decide, what we wanna do. Robin and I have been investigating different avenues to approach this with. We could, I think Bolton potentially may be interested in a shared service if that becomes available, but that's not anything they could do now.
Alright.
So it's, do we look for something temporary to fill that? Or do we move forward with a new search full-time at 16 hours? The person that we had in here helping has many years of experience, and she did not believe that we needed 16 hours. She thought it could be done in less hours, by the right person. I don't know how we attract someone with even less hours than 16, because it's already part-time position with no benefits. I will tell you, they weren't beating down the door to be an assessor. From what I heard at the shared services meeting in Tolland, other towns are having the same problem with the same field.
I know that with, certain elected positions, at least, like town clerk was elected, tax collector was elected at one time, that if it's an elected position and a person is elected to the position who is not certified, they have a certain amount of time to, they can serve in the position and they have a certain amount of time to
become certified.
become certified.
Okay,
And we have had the assistant assessor up there
We have.
for a year,
yeah.
and she seems to be doing pretty good, and she seems to know her
I
stuff pretty
think
well.
she's doing very well. Helen, who was in here,
Yeah,
spoke very highly of her.
okay,
I have spoken to her about what I believe it is you're thinking,
uh-huh,
to see if that's something she'd be interested in. So if we go in a route that then we could put someone we already have here into that position. She didn't say, no, she wasn't interested. She didn't say 100% yes. So it's something we have to think about. I don't know that you can, I think we would have to have someone in here until she's there. I don't believe you could sign up on the grand list without having those certifications.
okay, well, we
So we
probably,
would probably need somebody to
I
help
would-
us do something
I
if
would-
we went that route.
I would check that probably
Yes.
with the town attorney.
Yes.
Because again, like the town clerk, again, going for certification, that had been elected could sign off on certain things that they have to be the town clerk to sign off on.
So,
You're right, it's gonna be very difficult to find, to go out, last time we advertised, we didn't have
and the previous person, so the person that just left us, when that application came in, they were two. So, they are not beating down the door.
And the person
at our
that just
16
left us, I
hours.
understand, got a full-time
She did, she got a full-time
position elsewhere, so.
She did a great job. She has still made herself available, to the assistant, who will use that when she can, but she spoke highly of the person we have in that office right now and moving in that direction. So if that's something that we want to entertain, we could look for someone interim and potentially share that service with another town.
Okay. Well,
And we don't have to decide tonight, but it is something we have to, we're in a lull.
yeah.
The grand list is done, so we are in a reval year, so, but, you know, we have a little bit of time. Helen made me feel a little bit better about that when she left here, that we were okay in the things that have to be done. Rachel's been through an entire cycle now, so she's done all of the different parts in that office, which are very intricate.
Well, I guess the first order of business then, to find out what she feels about this idea.
And how do you, I
So,
mean, that's what you.
can you clearly articulate what the idea is, so that I know that we're all on the same page?
Yeah, the idea is, is it possible for her to become the assessor with the intention of her becoming certified in the same way that tax collectors and
Mhm.
town clerks can become that, and even though they're not certified, and then work toward the certification within a certain period of time.
Okay.
It is a
And
very
that is
specific,
your-
yeah, it is a very specific period of time, because some of the classes are only offered once a year.
Yeah.
So it can take a little bit longer than some of the others. I think she's taken a second one in June.
So we need to check with the town,
Yeah.
town attorney and make sure that this is all legal and kosher, and
Yeah.
make sure
Right.
that we could do it.
And if we have to have someone certified as the assessor to sign off on particular things, then we'd have to look at what route we want to go in to do that, whether we
Right.
look for someone interim, if we want to work towards, the assistant becoming the assessor. It's something to think about. I mean, we have someone in-house who I think, shows a lot of potential with that position. I just don't know, I mean, she took a job as the assistant assessor, I don't know if she's interested in becoming an assessor.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, that would be,
Right.
but,
And I think in the long range, so I think what we have to figure is, I mean, there's a lot of information about, like, so I jotted this down during one of the previous, comments during present to speak. Full-time staff people have a lower turnover rate than part-time staff people, right? So if you're talking about populating, our much-needed town functions with part-time, we're looking at more likely a higher turnover rate and repeatedly having to go out. And since, as we've noted, this is not a very high demand, there aren't like 10 people for every one position apparently. I think thinking long range in terms of shared services or whatever we can do to make it so that it's the most appealing position as possible would be in our benefit. I think we're gonna get more qualified people, we're gonna get people who are gonna stay longer, if it's a full-time position that has some benefits. If that means we need to make it a shared position, then I think we need to think about going in that direction. Because, I mean, a 16-hour position with no benefits is going to be realistically a feasible position for a very, very small few.
so our previous
People.
assessor
Mm-hmm.
worked here and in another town as an
Right.
assessor, so she's part-time here and part-time there.
Mm-hmm.
Helen, who was in here helping us out, was a full-time somewhere, then went part-time. Part-time in Bolton, and then part-time here, so 3 part-time is more than she could do.
Or part-time.
Right, because
They've
it's
all
not,
been
that's
kind of
not like a
part-time here,
livable.
part-time somewhere else, and that's what we're finding. I was in
Salary,
Ashford
right.
this morning for a meeting and inquired what their assessor is, and she's
Mhm.
part-time there, part-time somewhere, or
Right.
works there and somewhere else. So, they seem to
Yeah,
to
so I think
be-
it's to our benefit and to our surrounding communities to think about.
I hear that, but then I hear
merging.
someone very experienced like Helen, who's, you know, she teaches the classes, so one of the classes that both our previous assessor and our assistant have taken are her classes. And she doesn't think we need full-time, so I don't know how, with that much experience, we justify hiring a full-time assessor.
Well, and that's why I suggest that
The
we need
shared,
to
right.
look at shared services. So if Bolton says maybe in the future,
Right,
we do interim or what we can do for now, and then look ahead in the long-range plan and think about, well, maybe we can merge in with Bolton. And it's
yeah.
not the most obvious connection, because there's a little bit of they're not a neighboring town,
Well,
they're
it's
not
actually,
Ashford.
it's only, I
but-
would say it's most obvious because we share a building official, or we contract our building official from them, so,
Mm.
and,
So we have some partnership already,
yes.
but
Mhm. And
again.
she had approached the subject
Yeah.
for if they when they find themselves in the same position. Because the part-time person they have now is, inching towards retirement, and so they're looking not too far down the road to be in the same predicament. So, but it's, in the meantime, we're going to need an assessor, unless you want to assess.
So you're going to check with the attorney,
To find out if we, what,
check with Rachel
that we
if
have
she's
to have somebody certified.
interested, and
Mhm.
see what we can do on that,
Okay.
and
So I'll put
we
this
can
on the
start.
agenda for the next
Oh, yeah.
meeting? Okay, and I'll share with you what I have between now and then. Okay. So videotaping of meetings.
Once again,
Oh,
I
gee.
talked to somebody who's gonna look into it, and I was supposed to get with him, and I never did, so
John,
it's my fault.
In the
again.
meantime, we're still videotaping our meetings,
We still are.
so we're good to go. It's just until everybody else gets on board and starts videotaping with us. So we'll, add that to next month's agenda as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you might have to add that to your, selectmen's,
Budget?
no, your,
Oh,
weekly selectmen, yeah, your.
oh, I can add it, I can
Selectmen's
take it
update.
off of here and add it onto my update. Just, do you have any other changes or additions to that policy? That's kind of where we're at. Okay, if you don't tonight, then
Yeah.
so just get any suggestions, additional suggestions.
So can I, ask, and maybe this is a motion that I need to be making, but, is there a way that we can put some sort of end date on this conversation? To either move it forward or not move it forward? I mean, it can stay on the table indefinitely, I suppose, but I feel like
If we put it into my status report,
Mhm.
that takes it off the agenda as a meeting, so if we don't have any updates next time, then we just,
well, so my concern is though that
it's lingering.
it's lingering, there's some very concrete, issues that all three of us at the table
Okay,
have.
I will promise to do better, I will get with the person and I will have some, progress on it.
Okay, because I just feel like we either need to do it or because we were pending a decision about whether or not we can videotape,
Right.
pending an adoption of a policy, and now we've gone months without having the adoption of the policy, so that initial question of should we be videotaping and how is it being posted is still pending, and that causes, like, the questions are still unanswered, so.
And it's longer that we can get every other board on board with us
Right, there we go.
and recording their meetings.
So,
All right, so we will add it one more time to old business next one. And your ever entertaining MS4 stormwater ordinance. Did you have an opportunity to take a look at that one? So before, I wanted us to take a look at it and add any suggestions before I involve the attorney.
Before you involve the attorney?
Some of the simple things here.
Okay, I thought.
Those are the simple, and so Susan,
no, it's already left in the car.
gave us, today, this just at 5 o'clock, her 2 cents on what she thinks some of them mean.
Yeah.
And I think some, the criminal prosecution section, I think that needs to go to the attorney.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm at this point equipped to say how many dollars or days in that, so if you would like, I can, then I will contact our town attorney and take a look at this. At this point, the due date for this is July, so it's not as though, and we're making progress, so we're, moving in the right direction.
The town attorney, I assume, or I'm pretty sure, he was asked at one time about the statutory authority for all this. Maybe he might wanna take a second look at it.
Robin, do you, I mean, this was a new draft ordinance, do you know that he's ever looked at this one? I don't think they MS4, because the first one was, which Robin gave us a copy of, was from Fuss and O'Neill. And that came from Stanford, this one was pared down
Yeah.
considerably. So, all right, so I will send this one to him.
Okay. And you might just ask, I'm sure it was asked before, but by statutory authority, it is under what legal authority does DEP have to inflict this on the town? Once again, they came up with quite a imaginative way to do it, and I'm wondering if there's any way we could challenge that, or if we would want to. I'm sure it would be prohibitively expensive, but I'd just like to know.
All right. So that brings us to discussion of the account analyst position. So I will tell you that I did work with both the union and the town attorney in this process. This wasn't a solo process.
Yes, it was the solo
I
process.
did not, I mean, we were working with both the union and the town, I worked with the union and the town attorney.
And the Board of Selectmen did not work
Okay.
with the union.
I
and the
didn't
town.
say that you did, I said I worked with the town attorney and the union as well. The superintendent of schools worked with the business manager, regarding the position, because it's intertwined, it's a shared service with the town.
Mhm.
As, you know, as far as the, executive session last time, that was based on the account analyst position, not the account associate position that we went in to discuss. And we discussed, matters regarding that. If you think we should have a do-over, do it again.
That's not, you can't go in executive session to discuss.
If we were
a position.
discussing union,
Um,
negotiations with
No,
that,
no, no.
and so, look, John, if you want us to do it again, we can just do it again, I have no problem with that,
Okay, we have discussion right here,
absolutely,
and open.
absolutely.
Okay, let's discuss
I mean, if
it.
you think, okay, let's discuss.
Okay. You discussed it with the town attorney and with the union, and, but not with the person involved. With the, I mean, usually.
The issue of the account associate position?
Yeah, the person who was laid off, was she involved with the union, did the union and you and her meet, about this? Did she know this was,
She was in contact with her union, the discussion, originally Donna came to me with an efficiency that she thought she had within her office. We went to the union and we discussed with the union, and the contract says that in order to, we have the right to create a position, but in order to do that, the other was eliminated. And so that was the route we went.
okay,
Did
and,
that person know? That person was aware, I'm not sure what it is you wanna know, did they know, we were talking with the union?
well,
Yes.
I don't know, I'm kind of confused here because I hate the union. Because every time we deal with the union, they come down and say, you gotta protect this person, you gotta hire this person, you gotta give this person a raise, and we don't care if we're right or wrong, and we fight back against them. And here you're telling me that the union told you to lay this person off.
No, I told you the union cited the contract and what the contract states, merely going by the contract. The personnel matter and that particular person was, I mean, I'm not gonna discuss any of that in open, that's not something we can talk about that individual. We can, you know, table this and invite her in to have a discussion, if you'd like. But,
That would, well,
I mean, in creating the
At least-
position, in terms of the position, yes, the union cited the contract as how enforcing that, and that was create a position, we could eliminate the other position.
we could eliminate, a minute
We
ago you said we had to eliminate, now you
We
said-
had to eliminate a position before we could just create the position, that is correct.
But the union didn't say anything, which I would have expected them to say, like, yes, you can create that position, and this person, you have to hire, or at least offer this person the position and hire this person.
And that person could and still can apply for that position.
Okay.
It is still open, and that the person that was here could absolutely apply for that position, there was nothing stopping that.
I see, and if they did, then they would automatically get the position, correct?
I don't know the answer to that, I'm not hiring that position, Donna would be.
The union, I'm pretty sure would, override Donna's,
It's very likely.
but well,
The person involved at this point, to the best of my knowledge, has not applied for the position.
okay. Everything done here, you know, like I said, John stole my thunder, but just about everything he said is right. This was done completely illegally with, without the Board of Selectmen being involved, just you and apparently Donna and apparently, the superintendent of schools and the union
And the lawyer?
and the town attorney. And the town attorney, did the town attorney, agree with you having these,
The town attorney was present.
I mean, did he agree that, you know, we could only do this in executive session? Did he say those executive sessions were correct?
I didn't ask him.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. What else didn't you ask him?
John, you know, we can table this discussion and we can, you know, we can have the personnel discussion that you think we need to have, and that's fine. But the executive session and the creating of the position were two very different items, and they can each be handled differently, but I'm not gonna talk about a personnel matter in a public meeting.
And I think there are a
They're
few
two different things.
There are a few things going on. There's multiple things going on at the moment. And I'm actually not even really sure what it is we're discussing at the moment. I know that there were some procedural concerns. We talked about those last meeting, that there are some procedural concerns, some of which I shared, and we had that conversation. So I know, John, in the last meeting, you were very clear that the procedure was what was holding you up. Okay, so I understand that, and I think there are some ways that we can, as a board, perhaps make some agreements to move forward a little bit differently and avoid some of these concerns in the future. So I think that's one element of the conversation. And I don't know exactly what else it is we're arguing. We're arguing about the legality of going into executive session as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's a third
It's an
thing.
FOI matter.
A second thing, I mean, and then we're arguing also about whether or not she has the ability, like, that the decision to combine two part-time positions into one full-time, if Erica had that ability to do that without consulting us first,
Yes.
which was something that you had discussed with the lawyer.
Yes.
So,
We need a new lawyer.
It's ridiculous. I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
There's no way that the lawyer's gonna tell you that you don't have to, involve the Board of Selectmen.
So what we can do is table the discussion on this, and we can have a meeting with our attorney. Both of you present, myself, and have this discussion.
Yeah, we could have it, now would this meeting be a public meeting?
If it concerns a legal matter, I don't know, but I will find the answer to that. My first instinct is to say no, but I won't say it can be, and I won't say it can't be, because I don't know the answer to that at this point, John. I mean, if it can be an open meeting, then absolutely. But you're asking me if it can be, and I don't know the answer to that.
I'm afraid neither would the attorney. You know, what I'm hearing here is just flabbergasting. You know, the attorney said that you could do it and we didn't have to get involved. I can't believe it. Now, what
Would you
I-
like to set up a meeting and have a discussion?
I would. Let's do that. So then we can clarify some of these questions and.
Okay, let's do that. And, I would say this, until this is settled, and this might take a long time to settle, I don't think we should be hiring anybody for this position. So that might put the hurt on those folks in the county. But, that's because this was done so
I will
poorly.
reach out to him this evening and we will move forward with a date to meet.
Okay. And what else are we gonna do now? We are not gonna hire somebody, correct?
mean, that's up to this board. The position right now is set to close tomorrow. We have
I'm
applicants.
aware of that.
Right, and we have applicants, so
So what?
where do we move forward with that? I mean,
This has all
we
been
will-
done
We can
illegally.
wait until. well,
The position does not
We
exist.
will wait until we speak to the attorney.
Right, and the position does not exist. I do not want to hear that we hired somebody for this position.
Callan,
I would like to say as a taxpayer, that if there is any doubt that this has been gone about in an illegal manner, you cannot hire a person for that position and put the town into
I will discuss with the lawyer and we
a
will.
manner that you
wait-
could be sued.
Hold off things until then. Yes, Bob.
Notwithstanding the fact, John, I cannot imagine any scenario where an attorney who was hired by the town would put the first selectman or anybody else on the board of selectmen, for that matter, in an untenable position by going into a meeting that is illegal. It's unheard of. What, if the attorney was talking with Eric or whomever else, the union representative, whatever, in a situation, that attorney, if he or she wants to maintain their connection with the town, both financial and ethical, has to give the town the best advice. And I can't imagine any attorney giving advice that would, in a sense, put the Board of Selectmen or anybody else in a position of decision-making in this town, giving them the wrong advice,
Well, I'm glad you can't imagine. I apparently can imagine.
Well, John, it would incriminate in a sense, that attorney. If they would have put anybody in a situation of possible liability.
Yeah, but John Blessington's correct, and we lived that. John and I lived that. I had to go to the FOI and I had to go to court because the attorneys gave him bad advice.
Well,
I mean,
I-
Bob, you don't have to imagine it, I lived it.
I recall that, John, believe me.
So I will reach out to him today and we will set up a meeting and we will discuss the matter and I will have an answer to you from him as to whether it can be.
Okay, and then, we will,
I would like to have as much of it in the open as possible, but I don't know the answer to that and how much of this falls into.
And can you postpone any hiring of the position until we at least have this first conversation?
we have to.
Right.
So
So
do we need,
we can chuckle, we can laugh, but we need to probably get something down on
Yes.
paper, yes?
I
So
think
I would
so.
like to make a motion that we postpone any hiring of the associate, I don't even remember what our
Account
name
analyst.
was. The account analyst position until we have, met with our town's attorney.
I'll second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I hope that answers your
Okay.
Any other discussion regarding this particular position? This item?
So I think we're moving forward in the way that we can.
All
With
right.
this current position, we can't change what happened 2 weeks ago, but we can hopefully move forward in a better way, on the same page. And I am not sure how else to satisfy anybody's complaints other than to say we can only move forward from this moment on. And have the town attorney help establish with us whether we have made any missteps, and if we have, we'll correct them. And if we have not, then we will continue forward as we had voted last meeting.
Under good and welfare, Maureen in Parks and Rec is hired, this term hired loosely, she's got an intern from UConn, so the intern is unpaid, receiving credit from UConn. She's this week, she just started today. She'll be here today, one other day this weekend, and she goes on spring break. And she'll be with Maureen a couple of days, right? A couple of days a week, until the end of her semester. And an intern is never guaranteed. So we'll have this one to the end of her semester, at the end of April, I believe, and then Maureen would hope to be able to continue that process next year to be able to help her in that department, and then the student earns credit. The grand list was filed last Monday. So we actually are slightly, a slight increase, so which is a good thing. Our budget right now is slated to go to the Board of Finance on Thursday, along with CIP, and CIP moved meeting from Wednesday to tomorrow, correct? Or is that final?
Well, I didn't get a lot of responses
But we had to
back. I
post
hadn't heard
something,
from Kelly. Or John.
in anticipation of the weather. You may not have checked your
Yes.
email yet.
Yes, I posted it just in case people can come, so it's all set, and I forwarded the committee, but it's for them to see, so
So
if they can't
we're
make it, then I'll
hoping
cancel
too, so
it.
that can be finalized before the Board of Finance meeting. But the snow is,
Is that after 3:30?
No, it was,
no, the,
oh, maybe,
I don't know.
it could've, it's our late day, so it was around noonish, 1, 2, I don't know, today flew by.
and the last item on my good and welfare is I want to congratulate the staff and students at Hall School. They put on a fantastic production of The Little Mermaid this weekend. So kudos to those young people. I had a hard time believing that some of them were only 5th or 8th grade students. So,
For sure.
and it was not a middle school production. This was a full-on production. They did a great job. So did you have the opportunity to see it?
I did see it, and I want to add my congratulations to the kids there. And I do want to do a shout out to Jason Phillips, because the man is just,
Yeah. I mean, they have a pit, they have an orchestra.
Yeah.
He pushes these kids well beyond their age, and they really rise to the occasion. So there were some
and it's not
incredible-
just this year either.
No.
He's done it for how many years now?
A newer parent asked me if I could compare it to the previous
Yeah,
musicals, and I said I couldn't, because every year is a different pool of kids, and it's a different, and each one
professional
has been
quality.
very professional quality. The costumes, I think the 2 moms made all
They
those
were
costumes
amazing. They
were
were amazing.
fantastic, so.
Mhm.
If you missed this one, I think maybe you could catch it on DVD at Hall School, but definitely don't miss the next one, so. With that, yes,
I just wanted to let you guys know that I sent an email to the boards it was a follow-up, regarding the Newmeyer property that the guy was offering for sale. And I asked them to get back to me, so you guys can close it out,
Yeah.
so.
if nobody else came forward with interest in the land,
Yeah,
but
nobody
I'll put it out.
responded back to me, but I'm hoping that they will, and then I'll just forward it to you guys to add to the agenda, just to close it out and let the guy know, thanks for no thanks.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And move to adjourn at 7:41.
Second.